Hey guys, what is going on? If you are paying attention at all or you are in the world of gaming, there's always a new outrage. There's always a new thing to be upset about. Whether it's the graphics in some game, remember like Spider-Man, it was like Puddlegate, or like on PS4, PS5, I forget which. Obviously PS4, so I think it came out there first. But it was like, oh, go back to the original trailer and the puddle doesn't look as good now in the new game as it did in the trailer. Well, most of that game actually still looked amazing and looked basically the same as the trailer. But there is always something that people are upset about. And if you're into gaming right now, you know that it is Hogwarts Legacy. People are mad at people playing it because of the writer of the series of books that it's based on having certain political views. Now, obviously, that's really small-minded and really just a strange thing. Like, you can believe what you want about that person or about the books, but about a game based on the books, based on the ideas of that person, made by devs that have nothing to do with that person, like, don't hate on them and don't hate on people playing it. Even if you do dislike what the author has to say about certain issues. But I'm going to bring something to you that I think you haven't heard about yet. And if you haven't, you may very well start hearing a lot about coming the end of this month. And that is a little game called Atomic Heart. Now, Atomic Heart is developed by Mundfish, which is a Russian studio. I believe they're operating out of Cyprus, though, not out of Russia directly at the moment. But the outrage I saw starting to creep up online regarding this was like the reverse kind of outrage we're getting for Hogwarts Legacy. And it was that this game, which is, if you don't know, it's set in like 1950s, I believe, where the Soviet Union developed some kind of like robotic technology, so they've become really advanced, but something bad has happened. Something fishy's going on in paradise, a la like Bioshock. Like, people went away, they made this beautiful utopia, rapture, Columbia, whatever, but something went wrong. You had to go figure out what happened. It seems like the same type of situation where something with the robotics has gone wrong and somebody, a military guy, which is the character you play, is sent in to obviously solve it, fix it, figure out what happened. But people are saying, I've seen a couple of videos about this already from some fairly large channels, that this game is like Russian propaganda. It's propaganda because it shows the USSR and their kind of architecture, in this really good light. And they specifically are targeting out, like, I don't know if you've seen the ads, but if you have, go look them up, where it shows like these robotic women or whatever, where like just like a blank face. They're just like the shape of a woman, but a robot. And in some kind of like seductive ways almost. And they're really prominently featuring this in the advertising, right? But they're saying that on top of it being Russian propaganda, like lifting up how good the USSR was, it's also like manipulative, trying to get you to buy it because of its over-sexual nature or things like that. Which in my mind is, I'm going to answer both of those. And the first one is, even if it is Russian propaganda, let's put that aside for the moment. There are many games that are US propaganda. Like, imagine the first 15 Call of Duties that put, the US military on a pedestal, that no matter what we do in what country, we're the ones that are right, and we did the right thing. And then imagine on the other end, the over-sexualization. How many games and movies, TV shows, books, music are marketed on sexuality? Like, you look in the top 10 chart of songs in the US, most of them are going to be marked explicit, and the album art of those are not things you would want your children to even see. So the idea that it's manipulative on that end, well, I could agree that the over-sexualization is manipulative, but not any more manipulative than any other market that markets in that way. People market that way because it's effective. It's effective marketing. So you can't really blame them for that. Going back to the Russian propaganda real quick before we finish out here, though, it's just that it seems kind of hypocritical. Like, why, even if it is propaganda that puts, whether it's the USSR, Russia, whether it's Russian people, whether it's Russian places or buildings or, history, let's say it's propaganda, and in the fact that maybe some of it's not true, or it's self-aggrandized, right? How is that any different than any other country, any other game, right? And it's not even based on the trailers, it's showing you that something went wrong. There was some hubris there, and they screwed up. That's not any different than like Bioshock Infinite, where they build Columbia, but man, stuff went wrong. So I don't think there's a problem with Russian developers making a game that is pro-Russia, or that is lifts up certain aspects of Russian culture, society, even history. How many games are there that glorify, even if they make them the bad guys, glorify Nazi Germany? Like, you think like Wolfenstein, it makes them to be, this technological powerhouse, and they conquer the world and everything. Like, if you're into that kind of stuff, that makes them look cool, even if they're the bad guys. So the same thing can be true for this game. Maybe the people who did that are the bad guys. And even if they're not, if it's just saying, hey, Russia's pretty great, why can't people from Russia think that Russia is pretty great? I'm from the US, and I think the US is pretty great. It has its flaws. I think our media is a little more lenient and lets us criticize it more than maybe the Russian media does. But nonetheless, if you see issues start to arise about this game, about it being pro-Russia, or even it relating to the war in Ukraine, and people saying, oh, we have to boycott this game, otherwise, you're pro-Russia and you hate people in Ukraine and you're all for genocide if you support this game. Just ignore it. Play the games you want to play. If you play it and you get kind of disgusted by it, or like, oh, this is over-sexualized, or oh, this does promote a Russia that's not real, and it tries to convey to me that history is not what it seems, or something like that, then yeah, drop it if you don't like it. But don't ignore it or pass it off as propaganda simply because someone told you it is. Always check it out yourself and form your own opinions. So that's what I had to say about Atomic Heart, and a little bit about Hogwarts Legacy and the kind of outrage culture we have going on, where it seems like every major game release there has to be some issue, some problem. Even for Dead Space recently, it was the issue of, oh, Nicole, which is Isaac Clarke's, I think, girlfriend in the game. Oh, she looks old in the remake. Who cares? Like, the game's amazing. Everyone now knows the Dead Space remake is amazing, and amazingly well done too, and really, really faithful to the original. So let's wait until Atomic Heart comes out, because we saw the exact same thing with Hogwarts Legacy. Huge controversy, game sold really well so far, and got really good reviews. We'll see if the same thing happens with Atomic Heart, because I believe it is Mundfish's first real game, and it's being marketed as like a AAA style game, so it'll be really interesting to see how it does. Personally, I think, based on the trailers at least, and the gameplay, I think it'll probably score like a 7.5, but I'm open to be surprised, and I hope it is a good game, and I hope it is enjoyed by many people, regardless of what their faith or creed or nationality is. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.